Guys, Strickland versus Chimaev is not going to be a competitive fight. This is going to be decided in the first round. I'm not suggesting for you that the fight ends in the first round. What I'm telling you is whoever wins that round is going to win all the rest of the rounds the exact same way. Because every Chimaev fight I've seen, he has gone out and tackled somebody quickly. But it's very hard for me to imagine that he's going to just throw Sean Strickland down. Nobody else has. I've never in the practice room seen somebody go throw Sean Strickland down and keep him there. Adversely, I've never seen Chimaev not take somebody down and keep him there. I mean, do you see where this is interesting? Like, it's a very classic battle.
Thank you very much for the $2. Chimaev versus Strickland. Who wins and how? Chimaev would win by a dash choke immediately. He'd ragdoll Strickland and finish him on the ground pretty easily, I think.
Your old friend Khamzat Chimaev, he's fighting your former opponent, Sean Strickland.
No, he's not my friend.
Who do you think wins, Khamzat or Sean Strickland?
Chimaev gonna do the same thing. I think he's gonna try, put down and hold and try to finish the fight there. I don't know if Strickland can handle that, but if he can, he has a chance. I'm very bad on predictions.
I saw you and Sean had an interaction in the gym.
Understand, you're better than everybody. So just don't hurt people.
He didn't like when I said I tap him out.
Did you tap him out?
Yeah, many times, bro. Ask his coach.
What did you get him with?
Chokes, different things.
With fight night closing in, the noise around this matchup is only getting louder. Every possible angle has been picked apart, yet the opinions still couldn't be more split. Some people think Khamzat Chimaev's pace, pressure, and chaos will overwhelm Sean Strickland early, while others believe Strickland's composure, timing, and ability to drag a fight into uncomfortable waters will make this a long night. The uncertainty keeps growing by the day, and that is exactly why this fight feels so dangerous. So let's get into what the experts are actually saying.
We train with Khamzat right now. He's preparing for this fight. Huge fight is coming up. I think this fight should be in White House as well. And if they add him there, would be great, like 3 title fights and Khamzat's there in the White House.
Arman Tsarukyan is even proposing that this fight belongs on the White House card. He sees the matchup as one of the most compelling possible because it gives you 2 completely different styles, high stakes, and a built-in sense of tension. In his mind, that kind of clash would add immediate intrigue to an already massive event and give fans the type of fight they would not want to miss from the opening round. Demetrius Johnson's breakdown adds another layer to that. He describes Strickland's style as one built around control rather than bursts of violence. Sean finds a pace early and stays there, almost like he is locked into a steady cruising gear. As DJ puts it, once Strickland finds that rhythm, the fight starts to feel less like chaos and more like controlled sparring. That is where the danger lies. If you allow him to dictate the tempo, he can slowly take over the whole fight. But if Chimaev stays mobile, adjusts his angles, and times the entry into his takedown properly, everything changes in an instant. Once the fight hits the mat, rhythm stops mattering and survival takes over.
Keeping a pace up.
And the one thing about that is, like, when you just broke down, it's very basic, right? You can fight Sean Strickland and keep it as a sparring match. Because nothing's gonna go above that. He's not gonna switch stance or do something that's gonna like ramp. It's a tempo. He gets in the car, he puts it in 2nd gear, 3rd gear, and just sits there on cruise control. That's all it is, right? So if Khamzat goes out there and keeps his pace and does what he does and it just moves, like right there, like right, you go here, you step this way. Only thing you have to watch about, like, he's in this position right here. He can do a spinning back elbow, boom, which is very possible people do, or he has to get his shit together. And he comes back in front. He has to get his shit together and turn and face me, right? And so he does that. All Khamzat has to say here, and then boom. And that's what Khamzat's so good at. Is Khamzat comes out and he moves, and he's here, and he's always moving. Then boom, boom, big. It's a big shot from Khamzat. Takes him down, looking to ground a pound, and then as long as Khamzat doesn't allow Strickland to go like this, like, here and walk him down.
DJ also points out the other side of that equation. If Strickland is the one forcing the pace, Chimaev can get slowed down, and that opens the door for the jab, for pressure, and eventually for takedowns and top control in return. That is the kind of thing Strickland has done to plenty of strong opponents before. Make the fight ugly, break their rhythm, and win the pace battle. In DJ's view, that is what makes this such a classic tempo fight.
Then Khamzat beats him. But if Strickland walks on Khamzat and able to push him and get him tired, get him to slow down, Then you can see Strickland start to get that jab off. Khamzat gets in trouble. He shoots. Strickland sprawls. Big body on top of him. But that's something that Strickland has done to many people, where I didn't think Strickland was going to be able to beat some of the people out there, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think
Chael Sonnen thinks this could be less of a back-and-forth battle and more of a fight that is decided immediately by momentum. In his view, whoever takes the first round may end up dictating the entire matchup. It really comes down to whether Chimaev can impose his usual relentless pressure right away, or whether Strickland proves impossible to control from the opening bell.
Guys, Strickland versus Chimaev is not going to be a competitive fight. This is going to be decided in the first round. Now, let me tell you why. I'm not suggesting for you that the fight ends in the first round. What I'm telling you is whoever wins that round is going to win all the rest of the rounds the exact same way. It is very difficult for me to imagine Chimaev can't go out and tackle somebody. Why? Well, because every Chimaev fight I've seen, he has gone out and tackled somebody quickly, repeatedly. But it's very hard for me to imagine that he's going to just throw Sean Strickland down. Nobody else.
Chael keeps coming back to one major advantage. He believes Strickland has the edge on the feet, and not by a small margin. Watching Sean go 5 rounds with Israel Adesanya only reinforced that belief for him. The big unknown is what Khamzat looks like if this turns into a long striking exchange. People have questioned his gas tank before, but Chael does not really buy that as a weakness in the usual sense. He believes Khamzat fades because he pushes at such a punishing pace, not because he lacks the ability to keep going. That makes the contrast with Strickland even more interesting, because Sean's rhythm and steadiness rarely seem to break.
I think that Sean is a better kickboxer. I think that he's a meaningfully better kickboxer. I watched Sean for 25 minutes out kickbox Israel Adesanya, who is a decorated, pure kickboxer. But we don't actually know. What can Chimaev do on his feet? There was also a stigma going around about Chimaev that he would get tired, and fade. But that stigma wasn't true. What we learned is Chimaev leaves everything out there. He's tired at the end of every fight because he gives everything. And if he's got to give that for 25 minutes or he's got to give that for 15, either way, he's going to empty the tank. But Strickland is also known for his pacing. Strickland is also known for his conditioning. I've never seen Strickland wilt. Even on fights that haven't gone Sean's way, it's not because he got tired and gave up, ever. But one of these guys is better than the other one, and one of these guys is going to have an ability and a skill set that is going to overwhelm his opponent. And we're going to know who that is. Not at the end of 25 minutes. We're going to know who that is at the end of...
Dan Hardy, though, thinks the challenge itself is part of the appeal. He says Strickland has been tested before, but very few fighters bring the combination of wrestling and pressure that Chimaev does. That is what makes this a different kind of puzzle. Hardy also thinks the familiarity between them, plus their reputations, adds extra tension. He still remembers Chimaev's early UFC run as something almost unreal, the kind of stretch that made everyone ask how anybody was going to stop him. That aura is part of what makes the fight feel so big.
I mean, you can't call him a prospect anymore because he's the middleweight champion, but there's still certainly a lot of excitement around potential testing of Chimaev. Whereas, you kind of look at Strickland, you're like, well, we've seen Strickland tested in a lot of different ways. This might be a new type of test for him. I don't know as we've seen him face anyone that's got this level of wrestling. I don't know as there are many people in the sport that have got this level of wrestling, if I'm honest. But what I do think is interesting about this is that obviously these guys, they're familiar with each other, obviously at a distance as competitors. They're familiar with each other reputationally, which feeds in a lot to these fights because, you build a conception of the person that you're going to fight. And that's based on all of the stuff that you hear and see and your first expressions when you see a particular person fight. You get a taste in your mouth. It's something that sticks with you. The thing that sticks with a lot of people when they think of Chimaev is, man, terrifying. Like, how is anybody going to stop this guy? Like, it was, and you think about when he first joined the UFC. I went through the other day and wrote some stats down because I remember those first 4 fights. It was it was almost unbelievable.
Hardy also believes Khamzat needs to open up more on the feet. He points to past performances, like the one against Dricus, where Chimaev landed more than 500 strikes in 21 minutes, showing that he can control fights for long stretches. But Hardy does not want Khamzat relying only on control, because that makes him predictable. He thinks that if Chimaev mixes in well-timed striking and does not stay too linear with his aggression, he becomes far more dangerous. Combine that with his grappling, and Hardy believes Chimaev could be extremely hard to stop.
So Chimaev, in my opinion, needs to open up with his significant strikes. If you've got 21 minutes and 40 seconds of control in the Dricus fight and landed 529 strikes, like that to me shows there's enough control to do more damage. And I think that's where if Chimaev doesn't want to keep having these 25-minute fights where he's controlling people, he needs to open up a little bit more. Maybe space out his attacks instead of just being so aggressive in the opening round and then falling off and focusing on.
TJ Dillashaw sees Strickland's defense as effective, but also very readable. He leans heavily on parries, constantly using his hands to catch and deflect shots. And while that style works, it also creates habits. In TJ's words, Sean gives you the same response over and over, which means the challenge is not just seeing it, it is making him pay for it. The idea is to draw those reactions out, get his hands moving away from his guard, and then punish him either upstairs or by changing levels. If you stand at range and let him settle in, TJ says, Strickland will slowly take over with the jab, the teep, and the kind of pace that wears people down over time.
That jab, and what Strickland does do a good job of, which is not the, I wouldn't do it, but what he does is he parries a lot. He uses his arms really well.
Out here, yes.
Right, but I want him to, like for me, if I was fighting him, I would set those traps up. I want him to start doing that. You've seen Pereira do it, right? Like Pereira was like jabbing the chest, getting under, jabbing the chest, and you're getting him to pull his hands away from his face because he does it every time. And what I would do, I'd either jab the chest and come over with a hook right hand, or I would jab the chest, come over the top with the right hand and look for my shots. Me personally, I would look for my right hand, I'd come over with the left, I'd looking for body locks, I'd switch my stance up on him. You just can't stand that distance where he's going to jab you and teep you this whole time. He's jabbing, he's teeping, he's parrying out here. He's just.
TJ also points to Khamzat's strength as a major weapon, especially now that it is paired with better cardio and the ability to keep pressure on for the full fight. But he is very clear that raw force alone will not be enough. He wants Chimaev to set things up properly, not just fire off takedowns from nowhere. To him, the best route is combinations first, pressure all the time, work the body, and force Strickland to defend rather than letting Sean settle into his jab and counter rhythm. That blend of strength, planning, and constant activity is what could make the difference.
Khamzat's too strong.
Yeah, 1,000%.
He's too strong, and now he's got the cardio to go along with it. As long as he plays his game and he sets these takedowns up, he can't just shoot blind shots. Like I don't want to shoot off from here, which he's done it and got away with it because he's so strong. He's very strong. He can shoot a shot from here and still get it. But I want him to get Strickland to start moving his hands and parrying and then shoot my shot. So throwing combos first, getting a shot, keeping the pressure on him instead of vice versa, countering that jab, really working that body. Right, because this is all the shoulder roll, the Philly shell, and this is all to block his head. And I want him to do that. I want him to get his hands, but I want to like dig the body.
Luke Rockhold focuses on what separates Khamzat from other fighters, not just his striking or conditioning, but the full package, with wrestling as the foundation. He says the biggest reason Khamzat keeps improving is that he is constantly training with elite people who force him to level up. That environment, Rockhold argues, is what sharpens everything. Takedowns, defense, and work ethic. Surrounded by that kind of talent, Chimaev stays dangerous because he is always being tested. Colby Covington does not see much of a road for Strickland here. He acknowledges that Sean has shown decent wrestling in fights like the one with Hernandez, but he views Chimaev's grappling as operating on a completely different level. In Colby's mind, Khamzat should get the fight to the floor immediately, avoid turning it into a striking contest, and dominate from top position. His prediction is simple: pressure hard, put Sean in bad spots, and either find a finish or control him for all 25 minutes. If Chimaev does that, the fight could look lopsided very quickly. So who do you have taking this one? Khamzat Chimaev with his relentless wrestling and pressure, or Sean Strickland with his precision, timing, and steady pace? This is a matchup built on contrast, and every round has the potential to swing the momentum in a new direction. Drop your prediction in the comments and subscribe for more breakdowns, expert takes, and fight updates as this one gets closer.